guys, I got a little bit of a different video for you this week. I've been going back and listening to B.B. King's live at the Regal just to get a refresher in some of my blues phrasing. And I always find B.B. King's phrasing to be super potent, super musical, and super economical in a really cool way. And so I've got a few tips that I've picked up from live at the Regal that I want to show you guys that'll help improve your blues playing and make it sound more authentic. I've noticed that most guitar players, when they start to play blues, if they're not used to playing blues, they start with the minor pentatonic scale, which is a great starting point. However, this doesn't really make your blues playing sound super authentic. What makes blues guitar sound really good is when you're emoting and highlighting chord tones at the same time. Those are kind of two tricky things to do, especially if you come from more of a rock background. You're not used to highlighting the chord tones maybe in this particular way. So I'm going to show you how B.B. King does this. Say we start in the key of C sharp. We might start with a minor pentatonic scale that looks like this. Great place to start. There's a lot of mileage we can get out of that. So in this scale you have a root, minor seventh, a perfect fifth. We'll add the flat five of the blue note, a perfect fourth, a minor third, and it starts over again. Root, minor seventh, five, flat five, four, minor third, root, right? B.B. King does use this to some degree, but he's also substituting certain values in this minor pentatonic scale. He'll substitute the minor seventh for a major six. So instead of hitting that minor seventh, I guess in position one, which would be B string, 12th fret, right? He'll do 11th fret. So instead of a B, he'll hit a B flat. Now if I were to play that in a minor pentatonic sort of thing, it would sound like this, with a minor seventh instead of the major six. It's a sound, but it's not that sort of B.B. King sweet blues sound. And so if you want to make your phrasing sound a little bit more authentic, like B.B.'s, you can use the major sixth. Check this out. He'll slide into the major six a lot. All right, did you catch that? I did something a little different at the top of that. Most rock players would probably, hit the top of that position two pentatonic and do like this. That's a good sound. You can actually use that a lot. It's more kind of Albert King-ish sort of bend thing. What B.B. King will do is he'll hit that fourth at the top of that, bend it up to a fifth, come down, hit the fourth, and then hit the major third, essentially little E string, 13th fret, instead of E string, 12th fret. You see how that sounds super happy almost? Including that major third is a kind of a hallmark of what B.B. King does in his playing. So you start to add the major third in lieu of the minor third, substitute the minor seven with the major six, and you start to get a lot of sounds that could sound more like live at the Regal. And that's kind of another cool trick you can do is when you're going up in pitch in the scale, hit the minor third, but when you're coming back down, hit the major third in its place. And all right, it's a cool sounding lick. Let's move it elsewhere. Super B.B. King sounding. I remember guitar magazines talking about the B.B. box and what that looked like. Essentially, it's just a portion of the major pentatonic scale in a specific key. If we're staying in C sharp, it would look like this on the B and E strings. I see that as the minor pentatonic shape, and I'm just substituting the minor seventh for a major sixth and the minor third for a major second. That's just how I think of it. But you could also think of it as position two major pentatonic. I don't tend to think out of the major pentatonic in that sort of way. I just tend to augment the minor pentatonic. Look at it however it helps you understand it. My point is, note those notes, the major six and essentially that would be the major second or a 9. So you could do something like that where you start on that major second, major 9. And then the second time when you go back to the top of the scale, hit the minor third instead. And so playing with that tonality there is a good way to add interest to your phrasing instead of just playing the same scale degrees out of the minor pentatonic scale. Already I'm getting a lot more bluesish sort of phrasing. And that's all just over the one chord. I'm thinking in my brain, one chord, I'll play a C sharp 9. So you can hear how those intervals relate to the chord that's kind of happening underneath it. Well, what if I switch that to the 4 chord and I play an F sharp 7 or an F sharp 9? What sort of phrases will I come up with next? I start to see chord tones a little bit differently imposed over this scale set, you know? I see what was my major 6 on the 1 chord, or my major 6 in the minor pentatonic scale, now becomes the 3rd of the 4 chord. That B flat, it was the 6 on my 1 chord, right? Well, over my 4 chord, that now becomes the major 3rd. Ending your phrase on a major 3rd is a real good way to make your phrase sound a lot more interesting. We tend to start ending our phrases on the root, which isn't a bad thing, but there's times where you can make it sound a lot more interesting or hooky by ending on the 3rd of the chord, whether it's a minor chord or major chord, or even the 5th of the chord. That sounds really good too. Or even the dominant 7th. In that case, I ended kind of on the dominant 7th. That sounded really nice to me. So it's neat to see how these intervals within the minor pentatonic shape change relative to the chords that's happening underneath you. You could do the same thing over the 5 chord when I hit the G sharp 9 or G sharp 7, right? That is a classic B.B. King sort of thing. He'll go between the minor 7th and major 6th of the chord and end up on the root. Another lick that I like that he uses on the 5 chord is he does this. He'll hit the G sharp 9, he'll start on the root, hit the major 2nd, bend up to the major 3rd, come back down and hit the root again. Check this out. Sounds kind of weird by itself, but in context it sounds super B.B. Kingish and great. It's like super economical. I love it. You add that kind of wide swinging vibrato on it and it sounds great, right? Another area of the neck where B.B. King likes to play around in is the 3rd position of the minor pentatonic scale. In C sharp, that's going to be like around the 14th fret. What's happening there? If he's over the 1 chord, he's sliding into the major 6th, hitting the root, a major 2nd, bending around, go back to the root. You'll hear it. And at the top of it, pitch-wise, he's hitting the perfect 5th, going up to like a major 6th, coming down, hitting a 4th, major 2nd, and then root. So listen to that. You hear that? Sounds super B.B. King, right? There's this other cool lick you hear him do all the time that's super fun. He'll do this. He'll go 5, 6, high root. And he'll slide out of that root. He'll kind of do that to kind of cap off a phrase. And it almost sounds kind of horn-like. like a fall off, you know. He had horn players in his band for years, right? So, I mean, it makes sense that he would hear that and kind of play that. It's a real kind of a vocal, horn-like thing, right? So the idea is that in your phrasing, you want to imply the changes as they're happening. You just don't want to play through scale tones just detached from the chord progression. So if you can play a blues progression and imply those changes without ever actually hitting the chords, then you're starting to get good phrasing. That's the key to good phrasing, is to be able to imply the chord changes. I hope you get some mileage out of those tips, and I hope it helps make your blues playing sound a little bit more authentic. I would really encourage you to go check out B.B. King's Live at the Regal. It's a seminal classic blues recording. Aside from killer guitar playing, there's great musicianship across the entire band. It's a killer performance to see how B.B. King interacts with the crowd. It's super inspiring, and I think there's a lot you can learn from it aside from the guitar playing. So go check it out. If you enjoyed this video and these sorts of tips, leave a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be supplementing the gear demos that I do with this sort of content, just to encourage some guitar playing and to get me kind of going as well. So if you find your playing to be kind of plateaued or stagnating, go back and learn some classic recordings. One of the kind of cool things I noticed about this record when I was listening to it this most recent time is that for some reason it sounded super fresh, and I think the reason is that I've been listening to more modern blues players like Robben Ford, Matt Schofield, Josh Smith, and these guys are further down in the evolution in a lot of ways. They incorporate different genres into their blues playing, where B.B. King was really kind of early on in electric blues, and he had a very distinct, potent yet economical style. And it's interesting that the blues lineage has kind of gotten a little ways away from that in terms of what's popular in blues music. So when I go back and listen to B.B. King's phrasing, I find it just to be super refreshing and fresh, because enough time has kind of been removed from that being the popular sound, you know, that it's almost kind of coming back in vogue in my brain, that simplicity. And so I really enjoy that. If you just want to be able to make your blues playing sound a little bit more authentic, go back and listen to these sorts of things. Start highlighting chord tones in the progression that's happening underneath you in your lead playing, and you'll find that your phrasing gets a lot more interesting. Well, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.